Chuck met with Beyond Stillness 5 times to articulate and publicly share this story of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. To learn more about our programs, services, or to sponsor a guest on their story crafting journey, please visit us at www.beyondstillness.org. This story is presented in partnership with Santa Clara County's Stroke Awareness Foundation. We're honored to amplify voices from Santa Clara County and the surrounding areas. Visit www.strokeinfo.org to learn more. In celebration of the Stroke Awareness Foundation's Fight Stroke Walk, we are re-releasing co-founder Chuck Toeniskoetter's episodes from December 2024. We are deeply grateful to Chuck and the Toeniskoetter Family Foundation for their generous support and belief in our mission. Their sponsorship empowers stroke survivors to articulate and publicly share stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Chuck Toeniskoetter, a well-educated businessman, philanthropist, and family man. In the year of 2000, life was moving quickly for Chuck. But on a December afternoon, his world changed in an instant. Confused as the signs of stroke appeared, his luck took over. The ski patrol nurse on duty knew just what to do. Chuck received proper and timely care, which improved the outcomes of his recovery. Within the next couple years, he worked to regain abilities while also co-founding a life-saving foundation. Today, Chuck Toeniskoetter shares how his experience inspired him and the Stroke Awareness Foundation to establish certified stroke centers in Santa Clara County, obtain ambulance redirection for stroke victims to certified stroke centers, and raise stroke awareness. Thank you for joining us for Part 1, Chuck Toeniskoetter's story. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we create a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause to reflect on ways that wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope have shown up in our own recoveries. And we give thanks. Now, Chuck Toeniskoetter's story.
I'm a lucky man. I work hard and I say yes to good things that come my way. Unfortunately, in the year 2000, I was pushing the limit and burning the midnight oil to run my businesses. It was a very stressful time. On December 23rd of that year, Bear Valley Ski Resort touted 5 feet of fresh snow, and I was enjoying a much-deserved ski break. After morning on the slopes, I returned home for lunch, and after lunch and while walking and talking to one of my tenants in the town of Bear Valley, my right side went out. My leg, arm, speech, all of it. I had to grab a column with my left hand in order to stand. The man with whom I was speaking noticed the change right away and called Kathy, the head of search and rescue nurse in Bear Valley. In slurred speech, I said, "Don't worry about it. and headed down the stairs toward the exit. After about 10 steps, I collapsed onto a snowmobile. Everyone was looking and wondering what was going on. I was in good shape, 55 years of age. I exercised every day. I just finished a morning of downhill skiing and was about to go cross-country skiing for another 2 hours. I was in total shock. I had no idea what was going on. I have an engineering degree from the University of Notre Dame and an MBA from Stanford University. I was educated, and still I had no idea what was going on. When the search and rescue team arrived, the head nurse, Kathy, who knew me well, identified the stroke symptoms and called an ambulance and medevac helicopter. Both arrived about the same time. First, they loaded me into the ambulance, where the EMT told me I had a stroke. That was the first time I heard the news. Kathy approached the vehicle and directed that they unload me from the ambulance and move me to a helicopter 50 feet away. Procedure stated that non-trauma patients be transported via ambulance helicopter to the nearest hospital. Kathy knew better. She identified the signs of stroke and knew the nearest facility specializing in stroke care was in Sacramento, California. 5 EMTs used a gurney to carry me through 5 feet of fresh snow to the back of the helicopter. I still couldn't move the right side of my body. My head was sticking into the cab of the helicopter. The blades blew snow every which way, but the helicopter wasn't going anywhere. Kathy was protesting that the helicopter immediately transport me to Sutter Roseville Medical Center in Sacramento, the nearest hospital with a reputation for stroke care rather than the closest hospital. Kathy stood her ground and wouldn't get off the run of the helicopter until a dispatcher agreed to take me to Sutter. I'm thankful that Kathy was aware of the signs of stroke, knowledgeable about hospitals, and adamant that I receive the best care possible. I often think about the what ifs. What if Kathy didn't know the signs of a stroke? What if Kathy didn't know about local medical facilities? And what if Kathy didn't advocate for the best care possible at that moment? While riding in the helicopter, I was fully coherent. I pondered future possibilities. I called to mind 2 people I knew who lived with serious handicaps and gave myself a pep talk. I have to think more like them. If this was what my life was going to be, I just have to think about my next step. Looking back, I'm thankful I had something to focus on rather than allowing fear and doubt to consume me. When I arrived at the hospital, I went through a half hour of testing. One was simple yet repetitive, and I just couldn't pass. The doctor kept asking me to grab his thumbs as he held his hands over me with my hands. My right hand couldn't do it. My left hand could. My mind was telling my right arm and hand to move, but they wouldn't budge. I experienced the whole scene in fear. The doctor said, "You're a young man in good shape. And you have 2 minutes to agree if you want TPA in an attempt to dissolve the blood clots." He went on, "If you choose TPA, you have a 10% chance of death, a 30% chance that nothing will happen, and a 60% chance that there will be some effect." Without hesitation, I said yes. That saved my life. I was lucky the hospital had TPA on hand, and the ER doctor knew just what to do with those key moments. TPA had been approved by the Food and Drug Administration 4 years earlier, but still wasn't widely used. Again, I was lucky. At that point, I was laying in the hospital by myself with the TPA IV in my arm. 15 minutes after it started, I noticed I could move my toes, then my ankle, then my whole right leg. I called for the doctor. With excitement, I requested his annoying thumb-grabbing test. And I did it. I grabbed his thumbs with both hands. The doctor jumped. The nurses danced. It worked. Then everything went weak again like it was before. I thought he had screwed up my life right then and there. I was released then and less than 2 days later with difficulty walking and talking, but was ready to go home for Christmas. When I returned home, I used my fear as motivation. I needed to regain my ability. I applied my drive and work ethic to therapy. I wasn't going to let this stroke change me. I physically pushed myself every day, multiple times a day. It was very difficult, but with a little progress each week, it was worth it. 3 weeks later, I returned to work. I had too much to do. People relied on me for their livelihood. I had to get back to what I was doing, running my own company. But I didn't tell people at work what was going on. I feared people would worry and leave the company. I thought they would think less of me and treat me differently. Meanwhile, I said my AEIOUs 50 to 100 times a day to get my speech back to normal, and I had the unwavering support of my wife. I didn't want anyone to notice my speech or physical difficulty. My biggest fear was that people would never accept me as the person I was. I wanted to get my life back. I rearranged work to limit the in-person meetings. I didn't want people to know how I was slurring words. There were times that I had to reveal the fact that I had a stroke. And at other times, I tried to get around it. If I had to go into the office, I did so mostly during off hours so that people wouldn't see that I struggled with balance, amongst other things. I was still strenuously practicing therapy sessions, wanted to get back to normal. There were points that I doubted my efforts, but I didn't let doubt hang around long. I routinely pondered my luck at being in the right place at the right time. That luck fueled my rehabilitation efforts. About a year after my stroke, Pat Dando, vice mayor of San Jose at the time, and Chuck Hoffman, a retired successful businessman, requested a meeting in my office. I knew Pat well. She was a very convincing individual, and I quickly learned Chuck Hoffman was a bulldog for good. I had a vague idea about the topic. They had both previously suffered stroke themselves. As they said in my office, they shared how amazing it was that I got to the right hospital within 3 hours, received TPA, proper care, and recovered. Both Pat and Chuck explained their luck too. Both were taken to Good Samaritan Hospital in San Jose, and Dr. Sashdev, an experienced visionary in stroke care, was ready with his team to address their stroke. Each of our stroke stories were living proof of the importance of timely stroke care. Pat and Chuck were convinced that all of our local hospitals in Santa Clara County, California, and in the whole country needed significant stroke care improvements through the development of certified stroke centers. Every stroke victim deserved the care I received. I was reluctant to join their efforts because I still wanted to keep a low profile regarding my stroke. I was trying to keep all my professional balls in the air and my public reputation afloat. By then, I had recovered about 80%. I understood the importance of Pat and Chuck's vision. I just wasn't convinced I needed to participate. I'm thankful they wouldn't take no for an answer. After some thought, conversations with my wife, and a few more meetings with Pat, Chuck, and Dr. Sashdev, I was motivated by the potential to make a difference in the lives of future stroke victims. It was invigorating. I was fueled by the idea that I could turn luck into opportunity. We were all lucky, and we wanted to change happen chance into norm and make it widely available for all. By the time I agreed to join Pat, Chuck, and Dr. Sashdev, in their efforts. I knew that with these people, their research, and the dire need, we could save lives and reduce the effects of stroke in Santa Clara County and across the country. A year later, in 2002, we formed the Stroke Awareness Foundation as a way to raise money and awareness for the nonprofit goals we set out to accomplish. As it developed, the three goals we established then and continue with today are: one, establish certified stroke centers in Santa Clara County. Again, at the time, there were no certified stroke centers in the entire country. Obtain ambulance redirection for stroke victims to certified stroke centers and not to the closest hospital, as was the case then. And three, to get information to the public about what to do in the event of a stroke. Our efforts paid off beyond our expectations. A year and a half after my stroke, I had regained 99% of my capabilities, but I had changed forever. I was no longer the person I was before my stroke. My priorities shifted. I made big decisions to reduce my stress and to let things go that were no longer as important to me as they were before the stroke. My hope for stroke survivors is that they will also be able to look back on their experience at some point and acknowledge the life shift, changes, and that trauma that can turn into strength. Keep your eyes open for opportunities to engage with others and say yes to good things that come your way, and devote yourself to that which you find most purposeful. And, as Winston Churchill said repeatedly during the trauma of World War II in England, never, never, never give up.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. In a moment, I will read questions aloud, and you can also find them written in the podcast episode description. Community conversation prompts. What role has helping others played in your own recovery journey? And what lessons from your stroke journey do you share most often with others? On behalf of the Beyond Stillness community, we are grateful to you, Chuck, and the Toeniskoetter Family Foundation for your generous sponsorship and belief in our mission. You are empowering stroke survivors to articulate and publicly share their stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. Thank you.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Thank you for listening to Part 1, Chuck Toenisketter's story. Stick with us for Part 2, Chuck Toenisketter's interview. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Chuck's story reminds us that a person's determination can change an entire system. From navigating his own recovery to co-founding the Stroke Awareness Foundation, Chuck has shown how lived experiences can spark movements and even save lives. As we close, let's carry forward his message. Know the signs of stroke, act quickly, and always advocate for the best care. Together, we can build a future where every stroke survivor has the chance for a better outcome. If you found value in today's episode, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a review so others can find these powerful stories too. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. This story is presented in partnership with Santa Clara County's Stroke Awareness Foundation, that's founded on the mission to bring life-saving, standardized stroke treatment to Santa Clara County, California. Today, all 10 hospitals in Santa Clara County are stroke certified. For over 2 decades, the Stroke Awareness Foundation has raised awareness and empowered the community through education on the warning signs of stroke. The Stroke Awareness Foundation works to reach all of our communities through multilingual Be Fast education. Know the signs, save a life. Recognizing stroke symptoms quickly improves stroke outcomes and can make all the difference. Together, we save lives and improve the health of our community. These are common stroke symptoms. Be fast. B, balance, sudden loss of balance or coordination. E, eyes, sudden trouble seeing in one or both eyes. F, face, facial drooping or uneven smile. A, arms, weakness or numbness in one arm. S, speech, slurred speech or difficulty speaking. T, time to call 911